and welcome. It's good to have you join us on NTA's Nationwide. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that details of their meeting were not made public.
Abdulsalami Abubakar, who arrived at the State House at about 12:30 Tuesday afternoon, headed straight to the office of the president. The meeting between the former head of state and President Muhammadu Buhari lasted about 25 minutes behind closed doors. This is the first visit by any former head of state to the Nigerian leader since the letters written by Generals Olusegun Obasanjo and Ibrahim Babangida on the state of the nation went public. Efforts made by newsmen to hear from General Abdulsalami Abubakar on the purpose of his visit and issues discussed were unsuccessful.
Just 5 minutes, sir. No interview. All the best.
It will be recalled that Generals Abdulsalami Abubakar and Olusegun Obasanjo met President Muhammadu Buhari at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, about 2 weeks ago during the 30th session of the African Heads of State and Government. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Now, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has reassured Nigerians of the present administration's determination to sustain and strengthen the nation's democracy, rule of law, and a better Nigeria for all. This was at a presidential high-table dialogue on ethical values and national security organized by the Code of Conduct Bureau and the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. A book on integrity and service, President Muhammadu Buhari's Public Service Records, Reflections and Legacies, jointly authored by the Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, and Dr. Ibrahim Al-Bashir, was also presented to the public at the event. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Yes, indeed.
We apologize.
A very welcome development at this time. A program organized collaboration with the NTA, the Code of Conduct Bureau, on issues of ethics, values, and national security. It is so important such that
Moving on now, let's go to our next story. The just concluded National Security Summit held by the Senate has come up with far-reaching suggestions that will address the insecurity challenge in the country. Senate leader Ahmed Lawan, while speaking on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, says the summit is a new vista in executive-legislative relationship towards moving the country forward. Gufan Shaji reports.
Effective measures to address conflicts in the country were said to be thoroughly discussed at the summit, and appraisal of the security framework of the country revealed a lot. The need for a strong and vibrant justice system, synergy between law enforcement agencies, and improving capacity of the security agencies are areas the summit treated in depth.
We had the opportunity to get a lot of information that we'll now use as our raw materials when we go back to the Senate to come up with recommendations on how we can enhance our security system in the country to protect life and property, as it were.
We have a national security architecture that unfortunately is not apt to meet the challenges of our current day security dynamics, and I think the National Assembly can play a bigger role in that regard.
Other issues like hate speech in social media, channeling security manpower to productive and required places, the guests believe will address some inadequacies in the present setup. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji, NTA News.
Still on security, the Nigerian Navy, forward operating base Ibakambo, local government area of Akwa Ibom State, have seized boats and outboard engines used in illegal bunkering and smuggling of contraband goods into Nigeria. The 9 suspected hoodlums have been handed over to the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC. Jenny Bassi has that.
The commanding officer, forward operating base Ibaka, Navy Captain Yusuf Idris, while handing over the products to the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, hinted that the command seized 62 drums of automotive gas oil, which were being moved in a wooden boat to Akwa Ibom from Rivers State. He noted that the Nigerian Navy, under the present leadership, will not relent in its efforts to bring sanity to the nation's waterways. The Commandant, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Obiajulu Obiagili, who was represented, commended the Nigerian Navy for its efforts to clamp down on all thieves. He said the suspect will be subjected to investigation and those found wanting will be prosecuted. In Uyo, Jenny Bassi, NTA News.
A preliminary research conducted by Centers for Strategic Research and Studies of the National Defense College reveals that only 10% of all the treaties signed by Nigeria since independence has completed its processes. Changing this trend is the focus of a roundtable on management of treaties in Nigeria organized by the college. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma reports.
Nigeria, as a member of the international community, has entered into several treaties, both at bilateral and multilateral levels, to guide diplomatic conducts. These treaties on political, economic, social, technological and security cooperations, investigations review, are entered into by various ministries, departments and agencies on behalf of the federal government. However, inherent gaps have been noticed in the process, with contentions between the executive, legislature and judiciary, as well as the MDAs, with regards to entering, ratification, domestication and depository of such treaties.
The executive arm of government, while they have the power to negotiate, sign and ratify treaties, the power to domesticate lies with Parliament. And so to avoid any default in such negotiations, they must also take the Parliament on board.
What we see happen is that some MDAs do enter into agreements and they fail to comply with that provision of the Treaty Making Procedure Act, whereby having executed such treaties, they are expected to forward same in its original form to the Ministry of Justice for proper record keeping.
The media organization, we have, for instance, the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, has its correspondents across the globe. And even those countries, when we have international conferences, how do we cover our reports? How do we understand the nitty-gritties of the agreements between Nigeria and other countries? We need to domesticate it. We need to understand, to be abreast of all the information therein, so that our attitude, our reportage and programming should reflect Nigeria's interest.
So far we're able to gather up to like 192 documents. Out of those documents gathered within our custodies, when we did the statistics, only about 10% of it have completed the treaty processes. When I talk about the treaty process, I mean the process of treaty adoption, signature, entering into force, domestication or ratification. The remaining 19 are yet to complete these processes.
As stakeholders in the matter resume technical sessions, expected outcomes include modalities for the aggregation and documentation of all treaties entered on behalf of Nigeria, identify the implementation status of already signed treaties, and establish the roles of the respective MDAs. In Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. Minister of Transport inspects Ibadan-Abeokuta Rail Project. Elizabeth is standing by in our Lagos network studio for details and other trending news from that zone. It's over to you.
Thank you so much, Lydia, and welcome to Lagos. Impediments likely to slow down pace of work on the $1.5 billion Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge is effectively being addressed to meet its December delivery deadline. Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi made this known when he carried out routine monthly inspection of the project at Ibadan and Abeokuta to ascertain the progress of work. Abolade Salami reports.
The Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi monitored sections 3 and 4 which lie between Odeda and Abeokuta. He said following the contractor's submission on the buildings to be demolished to give right-of-way, other cost-saving measures are being studied to ensure fewer encumbrances.
On the left, before you go across to MKO Abiola, there's a huge expanse of land. Why do we have to go to the other place where we have to pay 2.8 billion naira for compensation when we have land on the left? It's not yet a directive. What we said is that they should study it and see whether we can move the station to where we have few buildings. If we agree to go to that part of the land, then we won't pay that kind of 2.8 billion naira compensation that we're supposed to pay, right? So we allow people to live in peace and just take the right of way.
The minister said he will continue to engage governors of Oyo and Ogun states to remove public facilities that may impede the speed of the project. The minister was, however, not excited at the slow pace of work on the project, given the fact that rains would soon start. Mr. Amechi said the federal government is determined to deliver the project in December, but not later than January, as dividend of democracy to Nigerians. The minister was optimistic that commercial services will begin on the track by January next year. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
The Nigeria Customs Service Apapa Area Command, Lagos, has seized 4 containers suspected to contain different pharmaceutical drugs with duty paid valued at over 110 million naira. The Customs Area Controller Apapa Command, Lagos, Jibrin Musa, disclosed this to newsmen in Lagos. Rotimi Oluwagbemi compiled this report.
The drugs include 936 cartons of tramadol hydrochloride tablets, 160 cartons of Domol analgesic, 330 cartons of Ibamol, and other pharmaceutical products that have controlled and regulated importation limits.
These transactions has about 4 established infractions. 1, it doesn't have NAVDAC certification. It has also been imported in large milligram, over and above the approved milligram.
The Custom Area Controller Apapa Command, Jibril Musa, says the seizure is in line with the command's anti-smuggling drive.
We are calling on people who are in the habit of bringing these dangerous drugs to please respect the laws of the country and be humane, so that the kind of problems that bedevil the society today, courtesy of the importation of these prohibited and dangerous drugs, can come to an end.
In the aspect of revenue generation, the Custom Area Controller said he's optimistic that the command will meet and even surpass the 2018 annual targets. The controller and his team led journalists on an inspection of the seized pharmaceutical products.
Governor Akinwumi Ambode has inaugurated the board of Lagos State Sports Commission and Lagos State Sports Trust Fund to enhance sports development in Lagos State. Nusa Ursula reports.
According to the governor, collaboration of stakeholders is key to achieving the desired goal for sports administration and development in the country, adding that funding of sports should not be left exclusively to government alone.
These 2 agencies, whose activities are complementary to one another, are saddled with the responsibility of positioning our state as one of the top sports destinations in the continent. Our vision is to make our state a hub for sports, tourism and entertainment, and leveraging on the interconnectivity within the 3 sectors.
Responding on behalf of the appointees, Chairman of the Sports Trust Fund, Femi Pedro, thanked Governor Ambode for the opportunity to serve the state, assuring that the members would deliver and perform far beyond expectation.
You've assembled a passionate and enthusiastic team that is eager to serve with zeal. Today we express our commitment to the vision encapsulated in the enabling laws.
The Lagos State Sports Commission is to be headed by seasoned sports administrator Dr. Kweku Adebayo Tando. In Lagos, Nusa Osula, NTA News.
And those are stories from Lagos at this hour. Over to you, Lydia, for more on Nationwide.
Many thanks, Elizabeth. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the media should collectively deny the Boko Haram terrorist group the publicity it requires to thrive. Lai Mohammed said this during the public presentation of Policy Framework and National Action Plan for Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa has the details.
Before May 2015, the story of war against the Boko Haram terrorist group was not encouraging. This necessitated the general review of the counter-insurgency operation by President Muhammadu Buhari, leading to the restoration of confidence and the glory of the nation's armed forces.
At least 30,000 hostages kidnapped by Boko Haram extremist group, including women and children, have been rescued by the military.
To sustain the success recorded, on 21st August 2017, President Muhammadu Buhari directed the implementation of a policy framework and national action plan for preventing and countering violent extremism. This is with a view to mainstreaming peace building into national efforts in dealing with extremism.
Extremist groups thrive on two major things. One is to get their ideologies and messages out to the public. The second is publicity, which is the oxygen that they live on. It is upon this realization that the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture has resolved to work closely with all the core constituencies as defined in the policy framework. We are committed to developing narratives and communication strategies that will completely dismantle and neutralize Boko Haram ideology and messages and other extremist ideologies.
The National Security Advisor says the people-oriented document is expected to prevent violent extremism through education and strengthening the capacity of the law enforcement agencies to enforce the rule of law.
In line with the President's focus on transparency, we needed to build a policy framework that will ensure institutionalization and mainstreaming of preventing and countering violent extremism across ministries, departments, and agencies.
There was also a clarion call to Nigerians, particularly those in the Northeast, to be cautious and guard against the propagation of violent extreme ideology. These experts say will support the ongoing counter-insurgency operation in the zone. In Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Many thanks, Ismail. The Senate has resolved to urge government to urgently place a ban on the importation of palm oil or kernel and to inject needed funds through the Ministry of Agriculture to aid the production of this cash crop. National Assembly correspondent Dennis Adegunloye reports that this followed a motion on the urgent need to protect the palm oil industry in Nigeria in line with the diversification plans of government.
The unbridled importation of palm kernel and allied products into Nigeria, which is threatening the federal government campaign for the diversification of economy through increased agricultural production and exports.
Having to import about 500,000 tons of palm oil to the tune of about 120 billion naira last year alone is a negative development for this country.
I led the advocacy against importation of palm oil far back in 1988. I am surprised that even in 2018, we are still talking about importation of palm oil.
This motion is going to rekindle the interest of not only the government but also the people of Nigeria in the production of palm oil.
The scarcity of lower denomination currency notes and consequences to the economy was also debated with the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, mandated to investigate the matter and proffer lasting solutions. The bill seeking to repeal the National Commission for Refugees and to reenact the National Commission for Internally Displaced Persons, Refugees and Other Persons Concerned has been passed by the House of Representatives. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko tells us more on this bill.
Well, this bill proposes to repeal the National Commission for Refugees, which was enacted in 2004. But at the moment that Nigeria is grappling with management of internally displaced persons, especially in the Northeast, this bill now seeks to repeal that existing commission, to reenact and establish a new commission known as the National Council for Refugees and Internally Displaced Persons. Well, that bill is expected to provide an agency that will cater for internally displaced persons in Nigeria. Well, I have with me a member from Borno State, Representative Mohammed Nuru Sharif. He's here to tell us the importance of that new commission that will be put in place by the time this bill is passed into law. Thank you for joining us on our news.
Thank you very much. The bill becomes absolutely necessary to be repealed in order to accommodate the internally displaced persons. When the bill was originally established in 2004, it was basically only for refugees. But now that we have crisis, after the bill was established in 2004, we have crisis of internally displaced persons, particularly in the Northeast. So this is a new experience that the bill has to be repealed in order to take care of IDPs crisis and IDPs problems across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I still have with me the Chairman House Committee on Media and Publicity, Representative Abdulrazak Namdas from Adamawa State. What would you say would be the most important aspect of passing this particular bill to establish a new commission?
Because the most important thing is that it's going to cater for the IDPs. And we have close to millions of internally displaced persons across Nigeria. So it's very important that we replace not just the refugees, but now we take care of the IDPs, which is becoming an issue. I think that will be very helpful if we can have the commission that can take care of particularly the internally displaced persons.
All right, thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Well, the legislators also passed for third reading a bill seeking to establish the Nigerian Police Trust Fund. That is what we have for you from the House of Representatives.
Ignatius Unko, National Assembly correspondent. And a report from Kaduna says the Minister of Environment, Ibrahim Usman Jibril, has called on states that are yet to key into the Nigerian Erosion and Watershed Management Project to do so in order to address the various environmental challenges across the country. The minister stated this in Kaduna at a 3-day orientation workshop for members of the steering and technical committee of the project. Haman Jabani has details.
Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project is an 8-year multi-sectoral and scale program with the collaboration of the World Bank to reduce vulnerability to soil erosion in targeted sub-watershed that became effective in 2013. The project has 4 components, which include erosion and catchment management investment, climate change agenda support, among others, since the World Bank responding to environmental challenges in the participating states. The steering and technical committee of the new map is to look at its approach to gully erosion, implementation process, and its effectiveness, as well as support and commitment of states in the area of counterpart funding.
And the goal is actually to make an impact, to turn around degraded lands into land that are sustainable and that can be used to maintain the means of livelihood and increase the productivity of our people and therefore reduce poverty along the road.
The minister explained that strong teamwork and results-oriented workforce are critical to the success of the projects due to the peculiar environmental challenges in every state of the country. Stakeholders at the workshop say 5 years into the project, a lot of success have been recorded in the affected state, with gradual reduction of loss of agricultural lands, infrastructure, improved access to economic activities, and improved environmental conditions.
It's helping the community to be self-employed.
Intervention through the support of World Bank and the federal government is a commendable arrangement.
The orientation workshop seeks to create awareness and foster a process of integration with all to enhance necessary support and buy-in for effective project delivery. In Kaduna, Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
Nigeria is poised to lead other countries around the Lake Chad to replenish the shrinking water body affected by desertification, ecological, hydrological, and social changes. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu said this on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria program. Gufan Shaji has that.
It is an established fact that more than 90% of the Lake Chad has dried up, affecting 45 million people whose source of livelihood depends on it. These experts on Good Morning Nigeria say must be addressed.
First of all, there are ecological and environmental problems emanating from issues that have to do with the desertification, climate change, and then of course there are the security issues which are a direct consequence of these ecological and environmental problems.
Climate change is there. Activities, anthropogenic activities, irrigation, evaporation also contributed, and then the rivers that were supplying water to this were getting dried up because there have been a lot of water is being used from them.
The conference on saving the Lake Chad, scheduled to hold in Nigeria later in the month, they say is a step in the right direction. They were quick to add that the task to redeem the Lake Chad is quite enormous but not impossible.
Well, my take on this is that it is redeemable, but it is going to be a very complicated and prolonged process. The reason being that the measures that need to be taken in order to redeem the lake or to refill or rescue the lake are complicated. It involves the participation of several stakeholders who are not necessarily on the same page.
Already, hydrological support and cooperation of the Lake Chad Basin Commission and Congo are on the possibility of water transfer. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji, NTA News.
More reports from Makurdi Network Center, our next port of call, and Susan is standing by. Susan, you're on.
Thank you, Lydia. Good to see you and welcome to Makurdi. A cross-section of people in Benue State have urged the federal government to take more proactive and effective measures to resolve the incessant farmers-herders conflict in the state. This submission was made at a meeting of stakeholders in Benue State with a technical subcommittee on resolving farmers-herders conflict held in Government House, Makurdi. Bem Hanya reports.
The technical subcommittee, which has the mandate of NEC, led by Ebonyi State Governor David Umahi, is in the state to interface with critical stakeholders, farmers, herders, and security operatives on ways to resolve the incident.
It was agreed that we can set up a subcommittee to visit 4 states of Benue, Taraba, Zamfara, and Adamawa, but basically to see how these problems could be solved.
Governor Samuel Otom said the inability of various administrations over the years to stop foreign herdsmen from neighboring countries from unrestricted movement into Nigeria has added to the challenge being experienced.
So you begin to wonder what country we have. For people to leave your own country and come and create problems in your own and your life.
People, including farmers, government officials, traditional rulers, lawmakers, appeal to the federal government to deal decisively with those found to be directly or indirectly involved in the attacks, while thanking the federal government, groups, and individuals who have come to the aid of displaced persons. Participants called for more aid in view of the scope of the humanitarian crisis. In Makurdi, Bem Hanya, NTA News.
The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, Benue State, says it has repelled a fresh attack on Awange community in Guma local government area of Benue State. The public relations officer of the Corps, Peter Adakole, who confirmed this, says the Corps, however, lost 2 of its men in the exchange of fire with the attackers. Charles Abba.
Security agencies have continued to take proactive measures to tackle the persistent attacks by suspected herdsmen on various communities in Benue State. In spite of these measures, there have been pockets of attacks on vulnerable areas in the state, one of which was the attack on Awange village by suspected herdsmen that resulted in the killing of 2 officers of the NSCDC and a civilian. Public Relations Officer of the Civil Defense Corps, Peter Adakale, said, for the intervention of the Corps, the community would have been devastated.
What happened? They were in their base when the villagers came with stories that the Fulanis were approaching. So they went in defense alongside with some of the local hunters. It was in the process of the exchange of fire in Awange village. We lost 2 of our men.
He, however, maintained that peace has returned to the community and its environs as more security personnel have been deployed to the area. He further stated that the remains of the dead officers have been deposited at the Benue State University Teaching Hospital, Makudi. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Following the recent loss of one of its officers on patrol in the areas affected by the crisis, the Benue State Police Command has been on the trail of the attackers. This has resulted in the arrest of a suspected informant of the attackers. The Commissioner of Police, Benue State Command, Mr. Fatai Owosheni, spoke on the development. Elias Itiaf has details.
The suspected informant was arrested in Eyilamo in Logo local government. Other suspects were paraded for robbing a resident in Oshongo town, as well as 2 persons suspected to be involved in the crisis in Kasiyo, Guma local government area.
What we are getting from the suspect we arrested is a resident of that community who at one time or the other been involved in selling the operations of the security agencies to this bandit.
Meanwhile, the Benue State Police Command has confirmed the killing of one of its non-commissioned officers who was one of the 2 missing policemen after an attack on the police patrol vehicle by suspected herdsmen in Eyilamo. A statement signed by the command's public relations officer, Joel Yamo, said the body of the slave was found with some parts removed. In Makudi, Elias Itiaf, NTA News.
And that does it from Makudi. It's back to Lydia in Abuja for more on NTA Nationwide.
Thank you, Susan. The synergy by the arms of government to revitalize the Ajaokuta still is on with the visit of Speaker House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara. Ignatius Nko reports that the Speaker was accompanied by more than 22 members of the House of Representatives who described the steel complex as a national challenge.
The visit of Speaker Yakubu Dogara to the Ajaokuta Steel Complex was the first time a sitting Speaker of the House of Representatives will be visiting the industrial structure. The Ajaokuta Steel Company, seated on 800 hectares of land, is an assemblage of sophisticated 43 different heavy-duty plants designed to produce 1.3 million tons of liquid steel per annum in its phase 1. More than 36 years after its establishment, the industry has remained stagnant, arising from poor concession arrangement and legal tussle. Speaker Dogara was emphatic that concession is not the solution, as he commended President Muhammadu Buhari for exiting Nigeria from the legal tussle.
For us, the priorities for us as leaders to agree first that we want to immediately develop this place. It's the biggest workshop in Africa.
Speaker Yakubu Dogara The Minister of State for Steel Development, Bawa Buhari, and the Kogi State Governor, Yahaya Bello, identified leadership problem and lack of goodwill by past administrations as the cause of the unproductive state of the factory.
We intend to work in collaboration with the executive and to see what sources of our executive are federally generated receipts or receipts available to government we can utilize in order to complete this plan.
Ajokuta was a dream, and I believe a dream that is realizable.
These are the efforts we are making to ensure that under our watch, under President Muhammadu Buhari, under the leadership of myself, Yahaya Bello, we revive Ajakuta Steel Company.
About $500 million is needed to complete the last phase of the industry, expected to be the biggest steel company on the African continent. But unfortunately, this magnificent facility, expected to be Nigeria's bedrock of industrialization, has been a sleeping giant. But the visit of Speaker Yakubu Dogara to the facility today is expected to be a wake-up call. From Ajakuta Steel Company in Kogi State, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Still on the economy, the World Bank has rated Nigeria high in terms of agricultural input supply in sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria also scores highest points in terms of financial support and marketing of agricultural produce in Africa. Musa Baba Ali reports that the World Bank report was presented to government officials in Abuja.
Performances of 60 countries in terms of agricultural input supply and access to finances and marketing of agricultural produce were analyzed by the bank.
The scores for Nigeria, when it comes to finance, when it comes to machinery, are in fact higher than the global average. So it's very good to see some of these strong regulatory practices in place. We're very pleased to be able to share some of the lessons of Nigeria with other countries in the region and around the world.
The report, however, shows the need for improvement when Nigeria is compared with other developing countries in Asia, Latin America and Europe.
Looking at what is the average, all right, for the nation. So in a particular state, you may have a different situation, maybe a little higher than average or a little below. But what is important here is to see what is the general situation, okay, of things.
The report is expected to serve as a policy guide towards boosting crop production for national food security and income generation. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
We'll take a break now. Nationwide continues shortly. Don't go away.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Fast-tracking the national economy through executive orders of the president. That is our focus on NTA Tuesday Live this week. Executive orders leveraging the corporate capacities and individual competencies. Tuesday Live, incisive and informative. Join us.
Alas, who are they?
Pepper them gang.
Pepper them gang indeed. The slangs and coinages keep getting innovative, while our business innovation gets innovative in the opposite direction.
Spell the word slay and tell me the etymology.
Let us pepper with our brains, not pepper with clothes, makeup, and irresponsible loafing about behavior. Join your rib-cracking comedy this week as we explore the modern myths surrounding slay queens and slay mamas in the episode titled Pepper Dem Gang.
Come now in a flash before you hear that your Juma baby got in a clash.
My sweetest heavens mad. I follow you like your shadow on Snapchat. Loyal like a lover.
Flash!
Jumoke, my classmate.
What?
You here? Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Our Anchor Borers program has created an agricultural revolution. In September 2015, we imported 644,000 tons of rice, costing more than $5 million per day. By September 2017, rice imports dropped by 95% to 22,000 tons. Our maize crop has exceeded 10 million tons this year, and through our rice and maize program, we now have 12.2 million farmers. We are now the world's second largest producer of sorghum after the United States, third in millet after India, and we lead the world's production of yam and cassava. We've created numerous plantations solely for the export market, and our plan is to increase the agricultural sector from 25 to 49% of our GDP, thereby reducing poverty and increasing food security.
Welcome back. You're on to Nationwide. The Association of the President's NYSC Honors Awardees have appealed for the release of letters of scholarship to 90 award recipients approved by President Muhammadu Buhari since June 2016. The association made the appeal at a media briefing in Abuja. Olainka Ojo reports.
The President's NYSC National Honors Awardees is a statutory award designed to reward excellence among youth corps members who are outstanding during their one-year mandatory service to their fatherland. As a way of inspiring diligence with the scheme and encourage the recipients to higher pursuits, scholarships were also awarded for outstanding corps members to study anywhere in the world to doctorate level. But while some of the recipients have benefited and are still benefiting, others are yet to. Franklin Imafidom is an award recipient of the 2012 to 2014 combined set, who is yet to benefit, like several others, even after securing admission severally.
September to precise, most of them left the country in 2015 September, and right now they are done with their masters and they are right now also in their PhD programs. And for me, I have not done anything. I feel bad most times.
While noting that it is worrisome that some of those responsible for the release of scholarships have disregarded presidential directives on implementation, President of the association, Susan Jegede, appeals to the federal government to intervene in the matter, as some of those affected risk being forced to stop their programs.
We believe that the refusal is a calculated attempt to thwart the process.
Federal government can raise an intervention fund to clear the backlogs of all these scholars.
If at this point in time an award was given and the benefit is not being implemented, then some others who are presently serving may be discouraged to want to also continue in community development activities.
National Association of Presidents NYSC Honors Awardees is a non-political and non-religious body that is primarily aimed at fostering national development in Nigeria. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Kwara State government to establish cancer screening centers. Kemi is standing by with details. It's over to you, Kemi.
Thank you, Lydia, and a warm welcome to Ibadan. In the bid to stem the rising tide of cancer scourge among youth, cancer screening centers are to be established in various higher institutions in Kwara State. Wife of Kwara State Governor Omolewa Ahmed stated these at her advocacy visit to some higher institutions in the state. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya has the reports.
Mrs.
Ahmed visited Kwara State College of Health Technology and College of Education in Lemono, where she said she has established cancer screening centers in all the nooks and crannies of Kwara State for early detection of the disease. She said if basic screening centers for breast and cervical cancers are in higher institutions, it would assist in detecting the disease among young ladies early before it gets out of hand.
I am here to solicit with the school management team to allow us to have a screening center to make it accessible for our students here.
Mrs. Ahmed enjoined relevant stakeholders to assist where necessary, as government alone cannot address issues affecting women, children, and youths. Aisha Abubakar Yahaya, NTA News.
The leadership of a newly established Customary Court of Appeal in Oyo State has been implored to ensure speedy and fair dispensation of justice in its activities. Oyo State Governor Abiola Ajimobi gave the advice at the swearing-in of the President, Customary Court of Appeal, Justice Solomon Akinteye in Ibadan. Adebola Ogulano reports.
The appointment and swearing-in of the President's Customary Court of Appeal in Oyo State, Justice Solomon Akinteye, are efforts to strengthen dispensation of justice at the customary level, as well as lay foundation of the new court.
May I therefore urge my Lord to ensure that new rules of practice and procedure are quickly made for the court to ensure speedy jurisdiction, or let me say speedy adjudication and fair dispensation of justice to all our sons.
In his response, Justice Akinteye pledged to ensure that the newly established appellate court lives to its mandates.
Cases emanating from customary courts will go to the High Court. But with the establishment of this court, cases dealing with civil proceedings in criminal customary law will go to the customary appeals will go to the Court of Appeal, and thereby reducing the workload of the High Court.
The new appointee hails from Iberekudo in Igwora, and he was next in rank to the state chief judge until his new appointment. In Ibadan, Adebola Ogulano, NTA News.
And that's our contributions from Ibadan. Back to Lydia in Abuja for the continuation of Nationwide.
Many thanks. Let's join Ogo Chukwuka in our Benin Network Center. Take it from here.
The federal government has been commended for the ongoing dualization of the Ewu Hill axis of the Benin-Okene Highway. Victor Odion Archer reports that motorists, however, want government to prevail on the contractors to speed up work.
Ewu Hill axis of the Benin-Okene Highway has been a dangerous spot for motorists, considering the rate of accidents in the area, especially with articulated vehicles, which have claimed several lives. The ongoing dualization of that axis of the road is progressing steadily. Some parts of the hill have been excavated and asphalted, while work is also ongoing on the old road lane to level up with the new one. Some motorists who commended the federal government for the job done so far want the construction company to hasten up the job and reduce carnage on the road.
They can do it like this, as they are doing it so we thank God for it. Because the road are many so have gone for this road.
They should make sure there is a good gutter, that erosion can be floated to the direction they can construct it to.
We just know how fast the government should talk to the contractor so as to make the condition of accidents become less.
We are making progress. So hopefully we want to see if we can put asphalt from where it started from that place through this place, so we can divert traffic here, then we'll now work on the other second lane.
In Ewu, Edo State, Victor Odion Archer, NTA News.
More non-governmental organizations have continued to complement the federal and state government's efforts in the fight against human trafficking and illegal migration. One of such is the Uromi Justice, Development, Peace and Carital Initiative, JDPCI. It was a rally to mark the International Day of Prayers for Victims of Human Trafficking by Catholic faithful worldwide. Sylvester Imokwede reports.
Josephine Bakita, a Sudanese, was sold into slavery and taken to Italy. There she was converted and became a sister. and then she began to fight against slavery, which has metamorphosed into human trafficking. On this basis, Catholic faithfuls world over has set aside February 8th every year to commemorate the day and honor Sister Josephine Bakita. The Uromi Justice Development Peace Character Initiative, in marking the day, walked around some markets and major streets in Edo Central, sensitizing the public of the danger in human trafficking.
We are here in Ekpoma to sensitize our people that human trafficking is evil, it's a modern day slavery. And also no recent happening in Libya, where many of our youths, male and female, are being trapped and being sold as slaves in Libya.
It's a terrible thing to be held in slavery. So that's why I'm here today, to support this work, and we just pray that people will respond.
No, you can't travel now. You can't travel with that side, and you can't convert it to be slave. They go the price as the price good. We don't want to create awareness. You want to travel, follow, arrange your people, where go to the embassy, enter inside plane, sit down like human being.
In Ekpoma, Sylvester Imonkwede, NTA News. Mothers from all walks of life converged on Asaba to pray for the peace, progress, and sustenance of Nigeria. It was the 11th edition of the Mothers Arise program of the Office of the Wife of the Governor of Delta State. Ngozi Imokwede has details.
Men of God prayed for the first family, the church, states, and the nation.
In any way, my father, show that person the way.
When you bring women together to seek the face of God and call for divine intervention concerning the state and nation, definitely God will hear.
Demokowa encouraged mothers to submit themselves to the dictates of God. To the women in authority, she advocated the need for them to leave a legacy that will stand the test of time.
Have you ever asked yourself that there is nothing that is permanent? I am here today. I will leave one day, another person will come. So that you don't get yourself puffed up.
I said to every one of them, I remove myself, that the word of today will not just end me.
The guest speaker, Pastor Ruth Ifokobia, emphasized the need for mothers to connect to Jesus and seek God's counsel. She urged mothers to be role models to every generation. The theme for this year's edition is brokenness, needful for a successful walk with God. Ngozi Imokwede, NTA News.
And we rejoin Lydia for the last lap of the news. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much. And we now go to sports. Super Falcons set to begin quest for glory at the maiden WAFU Women's Cup in Côte d'Ivoire as Nigeria Football Federation appoints coaches for national teams. Kene Emagbodike brings us details on Sports Update.
8-time African champions Nigeria Super Falcons are in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire for the maiden West Africa Football Union WAFU Women's Cup tournament, which begins midweek. Falcons are scheduled to open their campaign in Group B against Benin Republic on Thursday and then take on Senegal Saturday before meeting Togo Monday next week.
A lot of the players are very physical, very fit, and that's good. And they also have good technical skills, a lot of them, good dribbling, good playing vision.
Salisu Yusuf retains his job as head coach of Super Eagles Team B and will, in addition, take charge of the Olympic men's team as released by the Nigeria Football Federation in Abuja Monday. Paul Ayabogo oversees the national men's under-20 team, the Flying Eagles, while Manu Garuba returns as head coach of the under-17 team, the Golden Eaglets. Danladi Nasidi leads the under-15 team, the Future Eagles, with Jalami Atune Ali appointed head coach of the under-13 boys team. Japanese speed skater Kai Saito has become the first athlete to be excluded from the 2018 Winter Olympic Games in Pyeongchang for a doping violation. The 21-year-old who failed an out-of-competition doping test prior to the Games has left the athlete's Olympic village voluntarily but insists he is innocent. Court of Arbitration for Sport says the athlete was provisionally suspended from the Olympics and other competitions pending a full investigation. With Sports Update, Kene Ima Aburike, NTA News.
And that concludes Nationwide. We thank you for watching. Do have a pleasant evening. Bye for now.